All right, let's get this thing fired up. Let's do a podcast today, kids. We got Lauren and we got Maggie in the room, and you got myself. We're gonna do today's topic is the 3 C's of SEO, common sense SEO 101 for business owners. I've done a SEO presentation probably once a month, or multiple times in a month for the last 20 years. So I've had this conversation with many different people, many different ways, big companies, small companies, all sizes of companies. And, back in the early 2000s, I kind of reduced the concept down to the 3 C's because it was something that business owners could quickly and easily understand. So excited to get into content, code, and connections and kind of dissect those things. Some people say connections as the third C. Some people say credibility. It kind of is it's kind of the same thing. We'll get into that. But before we do that, the biggest things in the SEO space was Google came out probably as maybe a month now about the 2 megabyte file size. They're no longer going to crawl anything over 2 megabytes. And you have the Chicken Little SEOs of the world running around on LinkedIn going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you're like, okay, 2 megabytes is huge. And that's a single file. It's not like it's going to not render your page if it's like one image is this, one CSS file is this, one piece of JavaScript or a tag loads this way. It's technically 2 megabytes per file, and you shouldn't really ever have a 2 megabyte file on your website. So quick story, you're probably fine. But also you should always look at site speed. Anytime Google comes up with a site speed update, you know that they're paying more attention to how fast the website loads. So speed is of importance. I think we mentioned on the last podcast, we've seen some people switch platforms like WordPress to Shopify or something like that, and it just loads slower, and we have seen some SEO impacts there. So whatever technical stack you want to build your website on, make sure it is fast and not code on code on code. So that's my quick 2 megabyte file size. Keep site speed important. I have notes here. Bing Webmaster Tools and Google Trends now has AI cooked into it, so you can not just pull up the data, but you can ask an AI agent. Bing would use Copilot, that inside of Webmaster Tools. That's kind of a cool new thing that obviously the big tech companies are trying to fold into their platforms and their analytics software. Is now you can click a little AI button in the corner and ask it questions. That's cool. Who knows, maybe they'll get an API integration where we can pass that along on a different platform, like through Looker Studio or something. That'd be kind of cool. But it's not there yet. We still have to explain the reports to people. And then in the schema world, schema.org came out with a article that I thought was very interesting. And entity linking might become more of a phrase in the digital marketing SEO lexicon. Those are ways to kind of help brands, specifically more like product schema, cook it a little extra keyword juice, if you will, into the markup language. They're finding that AIs and LLMs, obviously. But anyway, so on the 3 C's of SEO, the two things I just talked about, the 2 megabyte file size and the schema.org entity linking conversation that's kind of bubbling up. Those are that falls in the first C, the code. The other cool code thing I'll say is Claude's getting smarter. I think we all kind of went back to Claude when it came out with its newest, latest and greatest. And I think Figma is trying to do some AI things. And, obviously there's a lot of AI website builders out there now trying to build AI websites. Claude, I can just ask it for a design and it'll make a pretty sweet design. And it's kind of like a nano banana thing where you can kind of give it here's kind of what I'm looking for. Here's here's an example of, and then you can ask it to break it down into a Elementor, into a JSON file that is uploadable into Elementor as a template kit. And then you just have that as a page or a block or whatever you need inside of Elementor. So we're trying to what I'm trying to say is we're skipping a lot of steps now. It's like you can just ask AI to build you something cool. It'll build you something cool. And you're like, awesome. Change the orange to blue and remove the footer. I don't need the footer. And then give me the JSON output. And it'll go, here you go. And it works. I've uploaded it. It looks great. It does what you want. So the crazy world of coding and developing a design is rapidly getting involved. We also launched a new website. Lauren and I were playing with some new AI SEO plugins. There's I'm not saying Yoast or Rank Math is going away anytime soon. Those are still very fundamental tools. And I think Yoast is trying to cook AI into his plugin. But there are just some new AI engines that are native WordPress plugins that you can connect to your ChatGPT.
Did you say his? Is Yoast a person?
Yeah.
Mr. Yoast?
I didn't know that.
Youngins, these kids these days.
Listen, I have worked here almost 5 years and I did not know that.
Yeah, we should, Maggie, you want to, I don't know his full name. That's my lookup. I'm like, what's Yoast, the person, is the name? Yoast?
He's probably making bank.
SEO person. He's see. Oh, what's his name? We need Jamie. Maggie, you're gonna be the Jamie on this podcast. Every time we have a question, we're like, Maggie, pull it up.
Look it up.
I'm the Google master.
Somebody has to be.
Yoast was founded by the Dutch CEO expert Joost de Valk.
There you go. I knew I wasn't going to pronounce it right, so I'm glad you looked it up and you said it, not me.
I think that was right. Nobody come for me if that's not accurate. I am not claiming to be an expert.
He named the plugin after himself. So there you go, Yoast.
Wow.
Yeah,
I know that.
There's little caricatures on the plugin, like the little cartoon,
Yeah, the little smiley faces.
Yeah, but there's not like a person, it's like a guy on the plugin artwork. Anyway, I think he's like I think it's like a cartoon version of the guy.
Him?
Yeah.
Oh.
When are you gonna make something and name it after yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I have 2 kids, and I didn't name them after me, so I guess I already failed, Maggie. I'm not like George Foreman, who has 8 kids, and they're all George Foreman Jr., George Foreman the third, and George Foreman the. Did you know that?
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
I think it's
but also disturbing.
And then he has Georgina, where I don't know, the girls are like Georginas. And I think it's
there are billions of names out there, and you can't come up with anything better than George. Your own name.
It's very royal.
It is very royal.
I mean, you make one Foreman grill, and you make $1 billion, and all of a sudden, to name all your kids after you.
Okay.
So they're just an investment. They're a business investment.
I don't know.
He has 12 children.
Good.
Including 5 sons, all named George Edward Foreman.
There we go. See?
And 7 daughters.
My question is, how does that go when everybody's home? George, get down here.
Right.
Which one?
This says his sons use nicknames to differentiate themselves. But there is, let's see, Monk, Big Wheel, Red, and Little Joey.
Okay.
Aww.
Daughters have very normal names, except there is a Georgetta.
Georgetta. Okay. Georgetta. Okay. Yeah. Well, we don't need to go down that path.
Anyways.
But yeah,
Wait,
that was that's
yeah.
definitely a when you said I don't know whether that came to mind when you said that. We can steer this back into the 3 C's of SEO and try to save this podcast with a little bit of business development and explanation for business owners. I think this is kind of the audience for this podcast is more that than George Foreman. So
hey, he owns a business.
He does. And maybe George needs a little SEO 101. So here you go, George. Code, content, and connections, or AKA credibility. Code is very much what people think of when they hire an SEO expert or they talk about SEO. They all run to the first leg of the 3-legged stool is code. And then we talk about title tags and meta descriptions and We already mentioned schema, and then that's one of the things that AI really is paying attention to. I think is what's been said. I think there's been some testing that's like AI is not really scraping schema and FAQs. And I think just sticking with code, it's kind of the first thing that everybody thinks of. HTML. How does my page render? And we get into things like site speed. We get into other coding things that maybe not even be the way I kind of define the first C is not just your website's code, but all the things that go into building a good website, like tagging, so analytics and conversion tracking and phone call tracking and some of those more advanced things that you want to make sure that you do with your website, because you have to cook in the right HTML and have the right triggers firing on the right pages and all those things. CRM integration, all those things matter. So we get into the code part of it, and we have like a checklist when it comes to code. It's very like recipe, like titles, metas, XML sitemap, robots, TXT file, 301 redirects, fix your 404s, make sure that, the sitemap and the URL structure is good. Like these are all very technical things. And for the better part of 20 years, that's what I've been doing, and it's fun. I like it because it's a little bit of web development, a little bit of art when you have an algorithm, and it's not all science. So it's a perfect blend for somebody like me who really likes to roll up their sleeves and log into a website and do all the little gnats ass things that not everybody knows how to do. And developers just tend to like to build pretty and be like, hey, I built this website. They don't really think about all the back end stuff. So anything you want to throw on there? Lauren, you've been doing a couple. I think you use Screaming Frog and a couple other tools for these kinds of things.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot this year about technical SEO. I actually really enjoy getting into it because it makes me kind of nerd out. But I think it's one of those things that I feel like people don't necessarily think about right at first when they think about SEO. I think content is really, at least from my perspective and what I've seen, I feel like people go straight to content, but they forget things like making sure your titles and meta descriptions are optimized, because, if your title tag isn't optimized, then Google doesn't know what's on the page, and then your content isn't, maybe not as relevant or doesn't perform as well. So there's so many like technical elements that people kind of forget that need to be, done a certain way on a website. And you can definitely go down a rabbit hole with a lot of it. Like the other day, I've been working on this. It's a content audit, but I was looking at different traffic to all the pages, and that involves me crawling the website and pulling in Google Analytics Search Console so it can give me that data. But it turned into this whole rabbit hole because the data wasn't really matching up. So then I had to go in and make sure like all the tagging was correct. And that was like an hour rabbit hole to find out that everything was fine. So it's just like, it goes deep, but yeah.
Maggie, you're probably you are the newest digital marketer in the room. Before you started this job, what did you think SEO was? Did you kind of think it was like just the code part, or what was your understanding of when somebody says SEO? What came to mind?
I mean, the code thing is definitely something that I'm newer to. I feel like I'm just now kind of putting my toe into those waters. It's not something that I have any problem with. It's just, I feel like it's not something that we touched on a ton in school.
I was gonna say, what do you think the average college graduate thinks when they hear, because you're closest to this, like what do your friends think SEO is?
I think my own perspective of it was definitely more of just straight up the content that's on the page.
Okay.
My specific area didn't really touch on kind of the more quote unquote web dev part of it all, the more technical aspect of it, other than, keyword research, making sure things are formatted, correctly with title tags and stuff. I don't know. I don't want to speak for college students as a whole.
Okay. You don't have to. I was just kind of like interested because I think 20 years ago when people used to or not 20 years ago, but like just over the last 20 years, like even now, people, when they call me, they go, "Hey, Kevin, can you do an SEO audit of my website?" It's technical. It's the code part. They don't want me to go in there and rewrite a bunch of stuff. They may want me to eventually, but like the day one, the quick wins is usually code first, because I can go in there and I can change technical things. I can tighten screws and pull levers and knobs that the front end user experience doesn't get changed, right? So that's kind of like getting into the content. The second C more is like that's what people can see. So a good example I think Lauren mentioned was like, you know, headers, and looking through like that is like an H1 tag. If I say H1 tag, that's just a header tag. You know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Usually the header, the one is the highest, right? It's like the biggest font, the one that Google would pay attention to the most. Typically, a audit report would say you should only have one H1 per page. You shouldn't have multiple H1s. You should go to an H2 if you're going to have multiples. All that stuff, right? Technical. But the actual copy that goes inside, the actual headline text, that's the content part, and that's kind of where the 3 C's come in. So it kind of like sometimes it's the same thing. The H1 tag technically is a code thing, but it really, when it gets into, well, what is it? And then a lot of times I think it's funny because you also mentioned keyword research. I also think people always go to keyword research as like, what's SEO is key.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, oh, what's SEO? Keywords. It's all keywords.
Keyword research.
Keyword stuffing, keyword this, keyword that.
I think that's obviously the second C, the content part, not the code part, is keyword research. One of the things that keyword research kind of uncovers in some fun ways that we can kind of cross over all the C's again is, what do you currently rank for and what do you not currently rank for? We can go in and we can pull SEMrush reports, and we can download an XML file and send it over to a client and say, here's all the keywords you rank for, here's where you rank, and here's the URL that keyword ranks for. And sometimes they'll be like, what is this? Well, why do I even rank for these keywords? I'm like, well, because you have a page on your website that says that. And they're like, where? I don't even know. Like, it's not on my main navigation. I'm like, no, it's buried. It's not front and center, but it's there. It's like, here's the link. You can click on it. You can see it. And so sometimes SEO can be interesting because you go back into the URL structure and the coding and the XML sitemap feed. And what are you telling Google? A lot of business owners don't exactly know how their website looks to a search engine or a chat GPT. They look at the homepage and go, there's my website. And there's my main navigation. There's my top 10 pages right there. That's all I have to worry about. And they forget that there's some coding and some internal linking that goes way deeper than that. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Sometimes they're like, why do you have everybody in your company with a bio? Like, do you need 200
bio
pages that also have an AMP version, which is another code thing, accelerated mobile page, view that it's like Google retired that 3 years ago. You could turn that off, like that kind of stuff. Like, you have alt versions of this and that, and then all of a sudden Google thinks that you're basically a directory listing. You're not even who you say you are anymore because you've polluted the content on your website. It's 90% a company directory, 10% brochure, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. You're like, yeah, that's why you need a technical lens with a content lens, because if you don't have both, you're gonna miss things. You can't do just an SEO audit or just a content audit. You need to look at all the things that you're doing. So sometimes people also will say, hey, do you need my website access to do an SEO audit? I'm like, no, I don't. You want me to look at your website the way Google can look at your website. And sometimes if they give me access to the website or something, I do an audit, they're like, oh, well, you just found that because you have login access to my website. And I'm like, nope, I guarantee you, I could have found this without the login in the back end. It's in your XML feed. These are a bunch of orphan pages that you don't link to in your website, but you're actually giving them every day to Google via Webmaster Tools or Bing Webmaster Tools or whatever. So like, there's those content things that get in the way sometimes with the code things, and you have to align those together. And it's not just keyword research. But then sometimes you have a small website and you're like, hey, you're only a 5-page website. It's not going to rank for anything. We need to go build out these pages. It would have been a good thing for you to have maybe a content oops and published a bunch of orphan pages that you didn't really think were out there, because at least you have a fighting chance to rank for those keywords that you didn't really push out.
At least we could just go in and link them.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Make sure they're not orphan.
Right, yeah. Sometimes those things can be kind of good. You're like, oh, well, you didn't do it right, but the content's cooked here on the back end. You just didn't bring it to the light. Let me put it in the light that Google can now see, because you had maybe like a no index tag on a page. Then you're like, why is Google not ranking this page? I'm like, well, because you're telling them not to.
Yeah.
The content's fine. It's not a content issue. That's a code issue. So sometimes people go into the content conversation not knowing the code side, and they go, oh, you mean if I just turn this button, if I just toggle this switch, that's all I have to do? And you're like, yeah, that's all you have to do. It's a code thing. And they would have spent the next week rewriting the whole page and thinking about a better title and a better H1 and a better, infographic or whatever, because they're like, something's wrong with my page. Google doesn't like it. And I'm like, well, there's reasons why sometimes you have to have the code in the content.
Oh, I guess kind of building off, like, you mentioned the no index thing. That kind of makes me think of looking at that robots TXT file. Sometimes people don't realize that someone has gone in and say the word coded. I don't really think that's the right word, but they've put something in that file that basically is telling certain crawlers to not crawl the website. And so I think recently we had a website that was blocking LLM crawlers, and they're like, I had no idea that was in there. I'm like, that's kind of bad.
Yeah.
For this day and age, like, you definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was like a SEO plugin that did it or something too. I didn't bring this up at the beginning of my what's new, but the SEO AI engine that we installed on that new website.
Oh yeah.
One of the things developers often do is they say, hey, I got lorem ipsum content on this website. I want to hide it from the search engines. I will forget to uncheck this box when I want it to go live, when I push it live. So that's why sometimes you need second set of eyes on things, just because developers are developing and they forget to do the simple things like, oh yeah, maybe I should let Google index my website. But we have that site that we're building, and it's in development mode. It's public. Like, you can see the website, it's out there, but I don't want Google to see it. So I have the block robots TXT are on and the no index tag on. And just so you know, there's no like robots TXT police, right? It's a suggestion. Like, Googlebot comes to the website once and goes, oh, you have that turned on. I'm good. I won't come back. Although I'm monitoring AI ChatGPT doesn't give a F about that.
Are they still crawling?
They crawl it. They went through and they did it. I'm like, gosh darn it. So, yeah, just because you try to block all robots, don't expect them to agree with your suggestion. They're going to go and do what they're going to do. And Google and Bing kind of have set that standard up to where, like, we're going to respect your wishes and we're not going to continue to index websites that don't want to be indexed. But when an AI and an LLM come through your website and they want to look at things, they're thirsty for knowledge. They're new to the game. They've only been around for a few years. They're like a sponge. They're like, let me just soak it all up. Let me not worry about things like LLM.txts and robots.txts and all these rules of the road. So if you really want to block something, you have to put a password on it, and you can't just rely on robots. From what I'm seeing, the log analyzers that I'm looking at, they don't respect it. They'll come get your copy and your content, even if it says Lauren Ripson. They're curious. So we have content covered, and the code kind of crossed over there. One thing I don't want to not say, and it's been said before on this podcast, even in probably other places, is the second C content is not just the written word. When you think of SEO, text matters most. Content, when they say content is king and all that stuff, yes, you have to say it on your website. One of the things that we've challenged some of our clients with in the past, that of like, hey, why don't I rank for this keyword? This simple, like, don't overthink it answer is, show me on your website where you say that. You can't rank for it if you don't say it. It's kind of SEO basics. Like, that's something that content has to do for your website. So keyword research is important. Semantic indexing is a thing. If you don't have to say every single keyword verbatim exactly the way that you might have typed it in, but it has to be in the family. It has to be close. It has to be pretty close. AI, I think, is better at semantic indexing and understanding natural human language better than Google, but Google also has Gemini, and Gemini is getting smarter, and obviously they're going to apply the logic across the board there. If they haven't already, they're getting better at it every day as well. So the AI overviews and that stuff is what's ranking something, and that could be a little more semantical, a little more crossover. You don't have to say the exact phrase. Even funny, when I was before this podcast, I kind of Googled the 3 C's of SEO just to see what Google would say, and they took my rank views C when I say connections, which is kind of what I really always said since day one. They're kind of like, and credibility. And you're like, okay, some people say credibility, so it knew what I was trying to say, but it also knew that there's other ways of saying it. So there's a semantic indexing there, like whether you call it connections or credibility or whatever that third C is. It's really the way of me getting a C name in there without saying, but really what I want to say is off-page SEO.
Yeah.
But you can't go, what are the 2 C's of SEO? Oh, and also that one O on the end.
CCO.
The CCO of SEO doesn't ring as well as the 3 C's of SEO. So I think everybody would love to just say off-page SEO. That is the umbrella term. But when we get into the 3 C's, connections and credibility are that third leg of the SEO stool. And so one of the things that I'll circle back to Maggie on when I was talking about, what do people right out of college think? Or what is the average business owner who goes out and just starts up a landscape company, or an attorney or a doctor, or somebody's doing concrete work? What do they think SEO means? If I tell them SEO, I think they stop at the first 2, to like my website, and then I go, yeah, your website, that matters. That's the 1-2 punch. Got to have a good website. Got to have all the technical stuff lined up. Got to have content. If you don't say it, you're not going to rank for it. You're not wrong. The third leg of that stool will fall over, though, and you will not have a solid SEO plan, and you will not have success, and you can ignore all the spammers who are going to promise you everything and tell you that they have some secret SEO, magic wand that's going to rank you number 1 for everything. I think we all know, those days are over. Hopefully nobody's responding to those emails, but I guess they keep sending them so somebody is, but those days are not around anymore, because the third C is the most important factor. I was saying this when Google launched, back in the early 2000s. What made Google different than all the other search engines? there was before your guys' time, you guys weren't even probably born yet. There was things like Ash Jeeves and Alta Vista and Netscape Navigator was like the OG. Like when I was in high school and I went to the school library, they had the bank of computers sitting there. They were all running Netscape, and all the title tags were the same keyword over and over and over and over and over again, like 20 times. That's how you used to rank. It was just repeat the keyword in your copy in your title tag over and over, and the person who repeated it the most was number one or whatever. That was like what made the internet the horrible for SEO. I guess you'd say easy for SEO because it was like that's all you had to do is game the system, right? And then Google goes, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a popularity contest, and the websites that have the most votes get to rank the highest. Very simple concept, right? If I want to rank for best digital marketing agency in Kansas, and my friend who, my fellow, agency owners down the street also want to rank for the same keyword, guess who wins? Not the person who says best digital marketing agency in Kansas on their website 50 times in the title tag and on the homepage and just spams their website, right? That was like the Netscape days. Google was like, it would be way easier if we could just look at the website and they said it like, hey, we're a digital marketing agency in Kansas. And then we looked at the backlinks pointing to that landing page or that website. And like, oh, this one's got 50. This one's got 2, number one. The one that 50 people linked to, not the one that 2 people linked to. And then that changed the whole game of search engine algorithms, and SEO became the thing that it became for many years, which is backlink building, and everybody needed backlinks, and that's still the thing. It's kind of funny, even on today's LinkedIn, there's this whole thing about are you link building or not? And it's always funny because you go to the conferences and you listen to a lot of the talking heads, and they're like, don't build backlinks. It's against Google's terms and conditions.
Black hat SEO.
That's spammy. There's webmaster guidelines, and you got to follow these. Google says if you build great content and you just do what you're supposed to do, everything's just magically going to fall into place and it's going to happen for you. Meanwhile, the guy down the street who's doing, backlinks, has a PR campaign, sponsors events, goes through and contributes and does, like back in the day, you guys, we used to just there was articleish, like 20 e-sign articles a day, or just backlink off that or something. So it was a Wild West scenario. And today it's a lot different, but you do need to have that third C. It hasn't gone away, and it has been abused. It's been black hatted, and you can't go on to a Fiverr or some sort of spammy situation and go, I want 1,000 backlinks for $50. That could get you into trouble, right? You have to do things the right way. But you should not ignore backlinks because some SEO or somebody at Google says you shouldn't build backlinks. Waggle my finger, shame. You have to think of it as I have to compete with Fortune 500 companies. They get mentioned in the press every day just because they have stock on the FCC mentions them. Well, that's a government backlink right there. That's not fair. And there's PR agencies that will go out there and charge you, $5,000, $20,000 a month to try to get your CEO and the C-suite on podcasts or on, Forbes or wherever it might be. Hey, we need you to link to our website when we grease these wheels. One of the things we want is a backlink. We want you to mention us. We want you to talk about us. We want press. We want news. We want all the things that big companies get. But that backlink really is important. And we've told companies, and I've done the same thing personally. Like when I joined the Lenexa Chamber of Commerce, when we moved from Overland Park to Lenexa, I was like, yep, I'm gonna go get that Lenexa chamber backlink. I think it cost me $350 or $500, whatever it was. But that's the membership fee that you have to pay to get a backlink from a local Lenexa chamber to help you rank better for Lenexa keywords. And so when people are thinking about buying sponsorships, sometimes I always say, if it's an extra $100 for the profile and the backlink, buy it. Don't do the free tier. If it doesn't come with a backlink, try to get the backlink. I don't care about the logo. You don't have to pay extra for the logo and all the other fancy stuff. Just if you get a backlink, if the website links back to you, that's going to help your SEO. So third C is connections. Connections also get into Google Business Profile. And so since I've been doing all the talking today, somebody explain how a Google Business Profile integrates with SEO.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, going beyond backlinks. So local SEO, obviously, it's really important. Business profile wise, Google wants to see that you're a legit company, and they want to see that people are talking about you. So a lot of times we're telling clients like, hey, you need to get reviews, because if you have, 2 reviews on your Google Business Profile, obviously that's a little less trustworthy. So reviews are important. And then in a business profile, there's implementing keywords. But also I think it's there's kind of a user-friendly aspect that comes in, right? Because you have to have your phone number, you have to have your hours, you have to have your address. It's all the things that make it easier for your potential customers to find you. If you don't have those things, obviously you're losing business, and Google sees that and they're like, okay, well, you're not really providing us the information we need to recommend you as a company to the people that are looking for your services. So we're not going to include you in rankings when someone searches, landscaping in Lenexa or something, right? So really important for reputation.
If we're using a C word, we might use credibility.
Okay. Oh, are you changing? You're going to change it from connections to credibility?
Well, connections with your Google Business Profile or the reviews part is the credibility part. So 5-star reviews. If you have 40 and I have 140, I was gonna say 67. I was gonna say 67, but I didn't.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. If I have more reviews than if I have more
Maggie's
reviews,
shaking her head.
if I have more reviews than you, then Google may say credibility wise, the person with the most 5-star reviews is more credible. Therefore, we can rank that person. So when I'm looking best coffee shop near me, the best. That's an interesting question. Who is the best? Oh, well, this one's got more reviews. Let's go ahead and rank them higher. That's the credibility part. And it all connects back to your brand, right? And so there's a thing called NAP consistency, NAP. Do you want to explain that, Lauren?
Yeah. Name, address, phone number, right?
Correct.
So basically, beyond your Google profile, we do a lot of part of local SEO is doing like local listings. So are you appearing on Yelp? Are you on MapQuest, if anyone uses MapQuest anymore?
Specifically the credibility and the connections piece means, what if I have LLC on the end of my name some places, and some places I don't. Some place I have Inc. Some place I have my legal name. Someplace I have my DBA listed. I have a toll-free number over here. I have my old AT&T number sitting out there on this listing, and so it's my data is a little bit scrambled. I also moved office locations 4 years ago, and so if anybody looks me up on Apple Maps, they get the wrong address. Does that impact SEO?
Yep. That's what I was getting to.
Right. I think that's gets the connections and the credibility piece to it, is having NAP consistency. But yeah,
And I
uh,
think now with AI becoming such a big thing, I think NAP consistency and local SEO has become so much more important. Not that it wasn't important before, but I think it adds a whole new level of how you're discovered on AI. Because I just feel like an AI is, or an LLM, I guess I should say, is not going to recommend a business that has such inconsistent information across the internet.
yeah, it's it's frustrating when I ask a question about my own brand and there might be a similar name out there. And they'll be like, it'll pull in the wrong information. I'm like, who? No, not even a little bit. And then it'll apologize and say, you're right. I'm sorry. But if you're a little bit off someplace, one of the things this company has a DBA and we have an LLC legal name. And if you look at the Better Business Bureau, I think it's my legal name. And if you look at, uh, a lot of other places, it's the DBA. And, we have moved from Overland Park to Lenexa, and having to go through and clean all that up and maintain that is a frustration that I think a lot of business owners are like, close enough.
Especially Apple Maps.
I don't care about Apple Maps. Nobody uses Apple Maps.
I do.
I don't care
Yeah,
about the Better Business Bureau. I don't care about Angie's List. I don't care about Yelp. I don't care about these places that have my information that's wrong. And as SEOs, that's the first thing that we run to, especially for local SEO, is if your data is not consistent and those connections are not connecting, you're basically leaving a lot of opportunity or a lot of SEO value on the table that you're like, if you're not hurting yourself, like it's like, Google missed the connection. On your website and on Google Business Profile, you're called, XYZ, but over here, you called yourself ABC. If Google doesn't penalize you for calling yourself ABC, you're at least just missing the opportunity for Google or an LLM to go, oh, you were mentioned in this article, or you do have like another five-star reviews sitting over here on Angie's List that would have made you the number one coffee shop near me, but we didn't aggregate all that together because over here you're called, Starbucks, Olathe, and over here you're just called Starbucks, and we didn't. Technically, those are two different names.
Yeah.
And so we can't apply that logic in our algorithm to say that you're the best because you've gone through and you've fractured out your reputation. It's we thought those were two or three different companies, not all one brand. So that's a little bit of a pain in the butt SEO side of the connections piece, is trying to connect all those dots, putting it all together. And it used to be very manual. And fortunately now there's APIs and tools that will kind of help expedite and fix those things. But if you don't know those tools, or you don't know that this is even an important piece of the pie, you may just go, close enough.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is like a business owner may be like, oh, I don't care if my business is wrong on MapQuest. Nobody uses MapQuest anymore, except maybe some boomers who still print
I
some.
love printing that 1998 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, they may not care, but Google does,
Mhm.
LLMs do. So
Yeah.
you have to care about it.
You do. You got to get that right, especially if you are a local business. Service companies, restaurants and all those places really do rely on that. And if, again, I don't need to be the dead horse, but like Open Table, if you rely on Open Table and you're not consistent across all the different platforms, and you're calling yourself something different on Open Table than you are on DoorDash, it's like, it's the same. It's, good sense is good sense, but if you don't do it right, then they could mess it up.
Yeah.
That's that it? For connections and credibility, we talked about backlinks being the biggest thing, local data, NAP consistency. Those are the big ones. And one of the things that we're also getting into, I guess I'll kind of finish with this third little caveat is the way Google counts backlinks and the way that we've looked at mods, DA score, domain authority, we call it, DA. It's a 0 to 100 scale. We've also looked at SEMrush. SEMrush has their own 0 to 100 scoring system, and every website on the planet has a score. You go to the tool, you type it in, and you go, what's my Moz DA? Or, Ahrefs has the citations, flow and the trust flow, and they have their own scoring system. For years and years and years, for decades, those are the three tools that every SEO ran to for that third C. How credible am I? How many connections do I have? How many does my competitor have, right? This is the us versus them part of SEO, because we've also kind of gone back with clients and said, okay, hypothetically, you have the best website. Your content and your code is wrapped in gold. Everybody loves it. It's the best thing ever. You cannot make a better website. You can't make better content. It's the best. Even if that's hypothetical, just go with me on this. That third C, how do we get to that point where you start ranking and you start seeing your website number 1 or number 2 on Google every time you search for that keyword that's on your website that's wrapped in gold? And we go, well, who's ranking number 1 right now? How many backlinks do they have? What's their DA score? What's their SEMrush score? What's their Ahrefs score? What do we need to do to match that? And we also know SEO doesn't happen in a vacuum. We've said this before to clients. SEO doesn't happen in a vacuum. A year ago when we talked about this, or 6 months ago when we started this project, your DA score was this, and your competitor's DA score was Y. 6 months has gone by. Your competitor knows how to play the game too. Mm-hmm. They're not standing still going, come over here and catch up with me. They're like, no, if we slow down, our competitors will catch up. We have to grow every year. We have to get more press, more news, more articles, more thought leadership, more directory listings, more, citations and networking, and all those things have to just kind of continue to build. Websites that have, a few links, baby websites that just got started yesterday, they can kind of get up to 100 or 200 or 300, a lot easier. They can kind of scale pretty much that right out of the gate pretty quickly. But at some point it starts to get harder and harder and harder to get the next backlink. You're like, I've already gotten all my directory listings. Checked that box. I've already been to Forbes. I've already been to, all the, like if you're a SaaS company, I'm thinking like, you go to some of these SaaS directories like Expertise or G2, some of those like web directories that like rate companies, and there's even some in the digital marketing world like we have to play with like Clutch and Expertise and stuff like that. But once you've started checking these boxes and you've gone down this SEO path and you've invested time and money and effort into these things, the next one becomes a little harder. The next one becomes a little harder. It's not like this infinite, ever growing scape of websites out there that want to just talk about, landscaping and Overland Park or whatever, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think we have that conversation a lot with clients of like, it's really easy to go easy, quote unquote, but it's a lot easier to go from a 10 to a 20 DA over time, right? But like once you get into like the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, it's really hard to move that number. And I think, we have a client who's had a DA 50 for a long time and they're like, we want to keep moving it. And I'm like, me too, but it's already a really good score. So it just gets a lot trickier.
Yeah. And one more backlink doesn't move the needle.
Yeah.
When you're already at 50.
Right.
And you already have 3,000 unique root domain linking backlinks. One of the things I should also mention is a backlink is not a backlink, is not a backlink, is not a backlink. We have to dissect that for people. And I guess this is a good podcast to do that on. You can get 1,000 Facebook links. you can get 1,000 Twitter, X.com backlinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, how many websites are linking to your website?
One.
You can get a global footer link. One of the things agencies and web development companies like to do, and this worked again 20 years ago, and they would link back to themselves because they knew backlinks mattered. And you kind of wonder why does every website on the planet have a website designed by little link in the footer? Because that's what developers do. I'm not going to name names. And I think, we've had developers here that have done that on my behalf. So if there's somebody out there who's fact checking, I'm sure if you Google website designed by RankViews,
It's out there somewhere.
We've dipped our toe into that water.
The problem is if someone goes in and deletes it, now suddenly you've lost like hundreds of backlinks.
That's my point.
Yeah, depending on how big the site is.
If we built a 100-page website, that's 100 backlinks, but it's one unique root domain backlinks, and that's what really the DA score is built around. It's not how many you have; it's how many unique domains point back to you. So don't go chasing Twitter and social media, and Twitter, social media. Don't go chasing hundreds and thousands of backlinks from one website that can give you a bunch of backlinks. It's about the one. And so that's where, again, it gets harder to grow and scale. It's a lot easier to go get 100 links or 200 links or 300, unique websites pointing back to you. It's a lot harder to get the next 300 and the next 300. It becomes a little even harder. And the next 300 is even harder. And then once you get to, hey, I got a DA 40 or 50 and I got 2,000 backlinks pointing to my website, that's where one more is not going to make the needle move. That's when you can start scaling back on some of the grassroots, turn and burn SEO stuff, and not worry about building a library of backlinks and worrying about how many I have. Because once you've caught up to your competition, past your competition, and kind of start getting a little bit more head to head and on some of these domain authority kinds of things, it becomes a quality over quantity game real fast. And it goes back to let's dissect backlinks again for another round here. We talked about a backlink is not a backlink is not a backlink. It also, a backlink is not a backlink is not a backlink, because I can get a bunch of low level DA 1, 2, 3 backlinks, because those websites have DA scores. I already said this. Every website has a score. So what other high domain authority websites link back to me is way more important than getting a bunch of mom bloggers with DA 8s out there linking back to you, because that doesn't move the needle either. I mean, it does early on. Early SEO, low hanging fruit SEO, low competition SEO. That's why SEO can cost a little bit of money and cost a lot of money. If you're in a competitive space with very heavy competition and, humongous websites, Fortune 100 brands are your competitors, good luck. It's going to be, good luck. Break out your checkbook, strap on your seatbelt, and let's go for a ride, because it's going to be a while. Versus I live in Alaska and I want to sell, snow cones out of my, taco truck. And then there's nobody, well, you know what I mean? It's like, who wants to buy a popsicle in Alaska? It's cold outside. So there's no competition. I can rank for snow cone truck in Fairbanks, because I don't think anybody's really going around trying to sell snow cones in the middle of winter. But
it's like this photo I saw. They're getting all that snow in New York City, and there's this hot dog truck just standing out in the snow, and someone is like, who's buying hot dogs right now?
My analogies make sense in my head. You had to kind of just go with me on some of these and just nod your head, because thank you, because in my mind it made sense. But it was kind of one of those you're an army of one kind of SEO keywords where you don't even need to do keyword research. You are who you are, and there's no competition. Congratulations, you're gonna be number one on Google without even trying. That kind of SEO can be, the spectrum, and depending on where you fall, SEO can be a big investment or a small investment.
Well, kind of circling back to the DA scores, a good metaphor to think about it is if you're 500 pounds, losing 25 pounds is going to be super fast, quote unquote easier for you. But, if you're 115 pounds, losing 20 pounds is going to be, a heavy lift. But you kind of put that in the context of like, the website. That early on progress is going to go super fast, but the longer you go, it's it's going to slow down and take more work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we start really talking about PR and how to earn exposure versus buying it. I think early on, SEO and SEOs, agencies like ours, are like, oh, you're nothing right now. Like, you have nowhere to go but up. Let's just go buy our way into the market and get ourselves at least a foundation that we can build from. At least then I can show you a report next month and for the next 6 months or a year that shows a hockey stick and like, look, traffic's going up and keyword rankings are going up and everything's growing and you're doing what you need to be doing now. A year from now or 2 years from now, you're not going to be doing the same thing. Your DA is going to be established. We go back to your content's going to be wrapped in gold. It's going to be perfect. You can't really go back and fix perfect. Now it's just a waiting game for Google and LLMs to go out there and index the web. And sometimes they will find things quickly and sometimes it'll take a while. That's also another part of SEO and kind of why it's a black box mystery sometimes and why you can't make promises and tell people, I guarantee this or that, because we're at the helm of doing what we think are the deliverables that are going to make another company do what we want them to do. And we can't make them do those things. If they change, I think Google will say they make algorithm updates every day. It's like a real-time learning engine. Like, they make over 365 algorithm changes every year. That's more than one a day. You hear about the big ones, like they'll make like 1 or 2 big ones every quarter.
Core updates,
right? Those are the ones that people kind of talk about, but they're changing every day. And we're doing the things, the 3 C's that have stood the test of time. Every time there's a core update, every time there's a new search engine, every time there's a new, LLM now, it's like AI is kind of creeping in here. And there's a lot of people who like to go, AI is totally different than SEO. They're not the same. I'm like, okay.
We got all these new different
Okay, well, yeah, no. There's a lot of LinkedIn heroes out there that need to feel like they have like a different voice. And the answer is always in the middle somewhere. It's not 100% this or 100% that. There's a crossover. The 3 C's in LLM world are AEO or whatever we're calling it, GEO, or I don't know, whatever we're going to start calling SEO in the future when we start talking about ChatGPT optimization. Those acronyms, I think they're still going to hold the 3 C's. The 3 C's have stood around for 2 decades. I think they can stick around for another 2 decades because what else in the algorithm, sphere of algorithmic conditions can you plug into an algorithm that doesn't boil down to, well, how good is your coding? How good is your content? And how connected is it to the rest of the internet? And do those connections build credibility? Are they saying good things about you or bad things about you? Those kinds of things matter. So I don't think ChatGPT has some special algorithm that's like, oh, we're different than Google. I think they're all kind of building off of Google and they're all kind of going, well, we're going to do this plus better semantic indexing. We're going to have better natural language progression than Google does. We're going to be able to cross compare websites and augment reviews into it with the website, with this article over here that also mentions both brands together. Like you will see like a Clutch or an Expertise. Oh, I'm trying to think. I was thinking of I think Gartner.
Oh, yeah.
The Gartner report.
Mm-hmm.
Some companies live and die on that Gartner report, right?
Yeah.
So they think that that's like the sales engine that really moves the needle for them more than their website. So these are connections pieces of SEO, and AI and Google look at that too. So I think my whole point is the 3Cs have stood the test of time with SEO. They're going to continue into the future with whatever we call the next version of SEO or LLM optimization. I don't think these are going to go away anytime soon. Always write good content, and content is not just the written word. It is the king of the content world, but images, videos, graphics, charts, all that content matters. And then have a good code stack. Lightweight, fast loading code that doesn't it's not over 2 megabytes, I guess. That's the new number. You know, all that's a pretty little package. And I think most business owners can understand those 3Cs. There's tons of nuance under each one, and we did a little bit of unpacking those today, and we could spend an entire semester. I could teach a class on we could spend a week on diving into what each of those means and all the specific elements underneath those, because there's a lot of layers to peel back in those worlds. But this was just built for this today. Just kind of wanted to give the business owner 101, talk to me as if I was not an SEO person owning and operating a business, and I just wanted somebody to tell me, like, if I had a best friend who was an SEO, tell me what I need to know and what I don't need to know. And what I think what you need to know is those 3 things.
Yeah.
Do those 3 things. Think about those 3 things. And if your SEO company is only investing in 1 or 2 of those things and you're not getting the 3rd thing, you don't have your SEO stool falls over and collapses, and you're wasting your budget. Stop doing that. Do all 3 or do nothing at all.
Well said.
Well said. Did a lot of talking on this one, guys. Thanks for jumping in with me. Any final thoughts? The floor is yours.
I think you said it pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll wrap. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.